Hi everybody, I'm Edward Mann. I'm here with Ekaterina, and this is the Full Circle Magic Q&A. I'd like to give a big FCM welcome to Ekaterina and say hi everybody.
Hi everybody, pleasure to be here, virtually.
It's a real pleasure to have you here talking to us and talking to the group. There's lots of questions already posted on the group pages, but I just wanted to, for those that don't know too much about you, trying to give a bit of background. Obviously, a lot of people may know you from your recent appearance on Wizard Wars, but you were born in Moscow. That's correct?
Yes. So I was born in Moscow, Russia, and I immigrated to Canada, Quebec, so the east side of Canada, when I was 8 years old. So more than half of my life I spent in Canada, so I consider myself more of a North American culture than Russian, but it's still in my background.
Cool. So obviously you must be quite multilingual with Russian, I guess, and English and French as well.
Yes, I consider myself perfectly trilingual because I honestly use all three languages on a daily basis, and it's crazy. And you only get it living here in Quebec because we have English and French, and you have to know both, kind of thing. And I studied in both English and French, and Russian. Well, mother tongue.
Of course. Do you think it helps knowing more languages? And being multilingual, does it help you be more creative, do you think?
I don't know if it helps creativity. It definitely changes a little bit the way you think, because I think in three languages, and sometimes it makes you a little bit lazy, because if you're talking to someone who is also trilingual, you're just going to mix three languages and it's going to be a mess for another person listening. So it does exercise memory, but I don't think it necessarily makes you more creative. I don't think so.
Okay, but it does affect the way you can think.
Yeah, I definitely think in a weird way sometimes, but it can turn you into lazy. Like if I don't remember a word in one language, I'm just gonna, name it another thing.
So. Okay, fantastic. Getting a bit more about your background, I noticed from your website and that you started with circus skills, juggling and things like that when you were 10 years old. What age did you get into doing magic, and particularly cardistry?
Okay, well, I was 16 when I did my first paid magic show. So I started to learn magic here and there since the circus introduction. But then there was a period when online magic started to pick up. So there was illusions, it was penguin magic, and I just happened to get a link from someone of where to buy this material. And I could tell the story in more detail if you're interested, how I got to get to those websites, because it has nothing to do with the circus background, but I just never elaborated on that story because I felt this is not what sparked my interest in magic, but it just helped me get access to the magic that I wanted to perform. Because through Magic Kids, I just hated the salt shaker trick, and I hated the disappearing milk, and I just didn't relate to that type of magic. Although I wanted to know what, like, for instance, David Blaine was doing on TV, or what Copperfield was doing on stage. Obviously, I couldn't reproduce what he was doing on stage, but that's the type of magic I wanted to know more about. And so only through purchasing online, I started to really get into what I call like hardcore magic, not the magic you can buy from just a kit. And then in 2007, after I started posting a few videos on YouTube, I started to see people manipulate cards in a flourishy way, and that just sparked back my juggling background. I'm like, I want to do that. So in 2007, it was May 2007, for months I decided I'm just going to learn card manipulation. Okay. It was even called like XCM at the time, and so there was different DVDs. There was Dan and Dave, who were really dominant in that field in 2007. So I got that material, and I was a student back then, and I was doing a few shows here and there professionally, but I was just manipulating cards any other hour of the day.
How often do you have to practice, in fact, to keep your card manipulation skills up?
This is a very interesting question, and I go back to athletes who practice sports, because it is, in my opinion, it's dexterity. So how do you learn a physical skill? And a lot of people think you're just naturally good, and no, you're not. You're not born with card manipulation skills. You can have good coordination, but again, everything can be developed. So, for instance, athletes, and I was listening to an interview from a tennis player, and he said, so my competition is practicing 8 hours, and so I'm practicing 10 hours, and so he has the fastest serve on the planet because he puts 10 hours a day practicing it. So the only way for me to get good or at the same level as some people I admired was to invest a lot of time on it. So when I was a student, again, now it's a bit different, I could easily have spent 10 hours a day, easily. Right now, the way I practice is because I practice so much and it became such a second nature for me, that right now I get like a nervous thing with my hands. It's like I need to practice. When I'm just watching television or I don't know, sitting and my hands are free, I need to manipulate some sort of object. It could be cards, it could be coins. Although coins I like less because they fall down and they make a noise, and that distracts me from whatever I'm doing. But cards, it's just all the time. So this is on an offbeat. So I don't set up a time right now to practice. I just do it in my daily routine, kind of. Yeah. But it's insane. It is a lot of time.
Has that become more difficult now? Because obviously your son Ivan is now 6 months old, and has that changed how much time you can commit to practicing and performing magic?
I would say performing, yes, but it's a decision that I made to the year that he's growing. So a full year, I had committed myself to spend as much time as I can with my son. So this was a personal decision. I still have my company working. So Ekaterina Magic Inc. is my company. So I can't quit from that necessarily. But there are some shows that I would give to other magicians. If, for instance, I cannot find a babysitter, there are things I have to compromise, but it's a personal decision. So technically he's already ready to be more with babysitters and everything. But I want him to be at least 8 months or 1 year old for me to be more comfortable and perform on a daily basis. Right now, I can take a show once a week, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And then I have the rest of the week, I'm just with my son, and I'm actually have more time to practice. But right now, I've decided to practice more magic versus cardistry. And I started to pick up new things in the realm of kind of what is magic performance. For instance, hypnosis. I started to develop a little bit of an interest on that. So I've been reading books about it in the past month, and just talking with people who perform that. Is just out of curiosity. You just have to be really curious in life and all the time learn. So if you're not curious, you're never gonna have this passion for learning. So right now I'm taking this year to really learn, because after that I'll go back to performing every day, and it will be insane.
Wow. Yeah, I totally agree with the premise of having to learn constantly, and I think personal development and learning is so important. I think somebody once said you should learn like you're going to live forever.
I like that.
Which I thought was a really, really good saying. But you said about hypnosis. Sorry, I'm just picking up on that. Which books grabbed your attention, and which people interest you in that field?
Well, I won't mention book for now because I haven't settled on a book that I liked. But I've been watching hypnosis, the protocol of doing hypnosis with no failures kind of thing. It's James Tripp, I think. So I've just, because I wanted to first try things that would not fail, because I don't like to, because for me hypnosis has a high chance of failing versus magic for me, especially if you're doing something and you're new. So I've been trying to look at hypnosis / altered with magic techniques. For instance, your foot is most of the weight is shifted on your foot, for example, and you may attribute it to your foot is stuck. So those kind of techniques where it's not like hypnosis in a trance. So I'm still not at that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I want to go there.
Well, you might do once you get into it. It's a very enticing field, certainly. With regards to the failure and that, I know exactly what you're meaning by that. I personally find that it's very interesting if you frame it as you're not actually going for anything and you're trying something as an experiment, and you can just say to the spectator, let's try something interesting. And see what happens, and not have a set goal as to where it's going or what's happening, can really help in that way.
Yeah, exactly. I see myself attempting some of the stuff in my next gig, but it would be like a casual setting. It wouldn't be an intense corporate event. It would be maybe a wedding. Like after I've done my main performance, it would be I would just like at a table and I would just try something, and I would not even mention hypnosis. I would just say something. Frame it, as some kind of fun experiment, and see if they take the suggestions or not.
Yes, it's very interesting. Some magicians consider cardistry or flourishing as card juggling, and I see it as somewhat less than performing, magic. And that, how do you feel about that? And what do you see cardistry and flourishing or XCM as a very skilled or skillful? I mean, because clearly, obviously, it is a field.
Well, yeah, it's a mixed opinion of whether cardistry takes away from your magic, and I mix both of them. I never just do magic and I never just do cardistry, and that's a strong point. Even on during my stage act, I would introduce it with some cardistry, but then I would go into magic effect, and during the magic effect I wouldn't necessarily perform cardistry, but I would at least somewhere in the act have done something flashy. And this is because it's the type of performer that I am. I'm not a comedian on stage. I'm not trying to be goofy. I'm not trying to pretend. I have supernatural powers also, and have this dark character. So it really depends what fits your character. For me, I come up as a very skillful magician in a way. Someone who doesn't try to play with the audience and well, yes, we're professional liars, so there's going to be lies there, but I'm not trying to pretend I have powers. So if I show skill, to me it's to my advantage because I'm just then better than the previous magician they hired. In my mind, that's how people perceive it, and I had success with that. So, and yeah, that's kind of the differential point I used. Besides the fact that I'm a woman, I wanted to be very skillful at what I do. So it works for me.
Out of the three types of magician, there's killer, victim, or bystander, or facilitator, if you wish. Do you see yourself more as the killer type, then someone that is in control and they are making the magic happen, as opposed to the magic happening to them or facilitating the audience to see magic?
Yeah, exactly. So I see myself as leading as a leader on stage. So I am creating the magic. So the magic is happening because I'm making it happen. Yeah. So I'm not the one that just like, oh, that happened. So yeah, but it's a personal preference. It works for some people, and I find it amazing, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes, I mean I've watched a few of your videos, and obviously they're very, very good, and it's very important, I think, for all performers. Everyone needs to find their own style, something that they're comfortable with, which clearly you are with your performance style, because it comes across in the way in your videos and things, of the fact that you're very confident and very comfortable in what you're doing. And I think that's probably an important point for anyone else that's trying to develop their style, not to be too influenced by what other people are doing, but find something that works for them. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's an important thing?
That's very important. It's very important. And I honestly, if I was just a regular guy who picked up magic as a hobby, I would probably never make it my profession. Because if you're just like an average guy who just like does average tricks and just copies whatever you just purchased, it's gonna work for some shows, but you're never gonna make something big out of it. So it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, I think, but it does help me being a female to kind of have a completely different style from men. But the fact is, if I was a guy and I didn't have a personal style, I would have no success at all. So, and because there's a lot of guys watching, I would say you have to find a way to differentiate yourself. It has to be, for instance, in Cardistry, with Cardistry videos, I found that a lot of people just showed their hands. And to me, that was boring. So I started to kind of stare in the camera in some of my videos, which is not that great. I changed that now. But at least I was showing my face, and that kind of gave it a bit more personality. So it's those little things. Just see what people are doing and do the complete opposite. And sometimes you're going to get negative reaction for that. But as long as you're comfortable with what you're trying, that's fine.
That's very interesting thinking. One would say disruptive. But certainly I definitely agree with you about doing the opposite, and as people would say, differentiate or die. And you know, clearly you are doing that. Ashley Twig wants to know that do you think, because you touched on this, do you think that a female magician could become mainstream like David Blaine or Dynamo or I guess Chris Angel, and do you think there is a market for a female magician on TV?
It's a very good question, and I would say yes, and I'll explain why. And it's interesting, and I don't want to name a lot of names and conversations I had with people, but there's people who are on the side that yes, a female magician can succeed on TV, and people who think that no, or maybe they're not ready yet. So I was in Vegas in 2011, and I had a conversation with Chris Angel, and he thinks no. And then I spoke to other magicians who do, like Jeff McBride, who do think yes. So, and who would support me in that. For instance, if I would try something on TV. So it's both sides, but I love that, because if I ever do something on television, I would really like an interview of people who say no, because that not only adds to the drama of the whole thing, but this is the reality. A lot of people believe that female magicians can make it and others don't. Personally, I think right now there's a lot of magic on television, so sometimes it's just a matter of timing. So maybe it was a timing thing. It depends what channels and networks are looking into. I have not yet kind of met another female magician that was thinking of a kind of a solo show. So, but for me personally, I have thought of one, and I'm kind of, well, I don't want to reveal all my plans today, but I have two things that always interest me, and things that I haven't fully worked on yet is I haven't yet developed a full stage show, a solo show. I haven't done that yet. I have acts, but not a full public stage show. And the second thing I've never, done obviously, and no female magician have done yet, is a solo TV show, no matter what it is. And you know, stage is kind of obvious. You're going to do a lot of illusions, so it's something I haven't done a lot of yet. So these are two fields that are very interesting to me, but one more interesting than the other. So if not me, for sure another girl will definitely tap into either one of those, because right now there is not a solo female magician show on the Vegas Strip.
No, I mean, certainly from my own point of view, I think it would be wonderful. I think there's far too much inequality, to my mind, in the magic world when it comes to female magicians and things. And I think, well, do you have to work harder as a female to make it as a magician, or to get people to take you more seriously? I mean, is it a problem, or not?
It really depends. I would say I personally had a very good experience being a female magician, maybe because local magicians here are super excited to have a female magician and are always there to help me. And even when I went to Vegas, most of folks there were very, very supportive. So I had more positive things than negative things. What I find difficult is to introduce maybe laymen to the idea that it's normal. So magicians, I think magicians are for the most part, very supportive. I personally have experienced nothing but good things. But again, it's for laymen to understand, yes, it's possible and it will work. So that type of thing, because right now they know, okay, it's like when David Blaine started his TV show Street Magic, there are countries that started to kind of steal the same concept and just plug in another guy there, and he does street magic in that country. So he's the street magician in that country. So it was not very creative, but they know it works because that guy tried it. But since there's no female magician that tried it before, there might be doubts there. Mm-hmm. But as soon as one of us does it, it's going to be more smooth. So I'm always supportive of other female magicians, and that's why I collaborate with quite a few of them.
Yes, that's wonderful. Which actually brings me on to one of the videos that you did. And I think you know the one I mean, with the cardistry and the makeup and everything else. What was that video called? The name, my notes have failed me. You posted it on your feed.
Yeah, it was Try. It was called Try Cardistry.
Try Cardistry. That's right. What was the concept of that video about?
Well, I don't know if you watched the original video, but it was by Colby Collage. She sang this song. It was her song. Now I get YouTube all the time removing my videos because of copyright stuff. So I had to find a cover of that song, so it's not her singing in my video. So I found a cover of that song that was very good, I found. So I used that, and I did get inspired by her video. Her video, she was just there, and it was all on white background, and they were just gradually removing makeup during that video. And I felt, although that was good, but I felt, what if you were doing something more than just removing video? What if you're actually, displaying skill? In this case, we did a bit of cardistry, and there was some magic elements as well. So I thought that would bring it to the next level. So I like the concept of, yes, this is a song about empowering women, that you don't have to try so hard. And I feel that even, as women in this world, we try so hard. And I think sometimes we even try more for other women that watch us, because a lot of the time, men don't care. Like, they don't care if you have a ton of makeup on or if you have less makeup on. So we're kind of trying so hard. So it was kind of a statement, and I really like that. So it's really connected with the other girls as well, and they were all in, and we just produced that. I got an editor who knows cardistry, so that really helped in the editing. There was a lot of footage to choose from. So I didn't have time to do that myself. So I was glad I found someone who was really good at that. And that's that.
Cool. I thought it was really a really great video. I hadn't seen the original, actually, so that probably would have helped had I watched it. But I did like your video. I've posted a link to that in the group, actually, for anyone that wants to watch it. I think it's inspiring. I want to ask another question, actually, from the group, which is by Paul Reynolds, and he wants to know if your appearance on Wizard Wars has helped advance your marketability in a positive light.
It's a good question. It's not my first TV appearance, but it's the first TV appearance that kind of attracted a lot of magicians. So that's why kind of about it. Yes. But in terms of laymen and locally in Canada, by the way, it's not very big, Wizard Wars. But it was mainly a buzz among magicians. I wouldn't say, and I wasn't expecting it to be something that locally I can push necessarily. That's why I didn't even get the newspapers involved, and it's more French dominated where I live. So if it's not something in French, they don't care. So I wouldn't say it had an impact on me booking more gigs. It's something I can leverage in terms of, he said that and you quote that and then you use that to sell. Yes. But because I'm not pushing so much my services right now because of my son, it was like, so what, I did it, and it was more for me. But you really have to just take it and leverage it afterwards. Mm-hmm. But it is also difficult to do because I did upload the video on YouTube of me doing the card trick, and it was removed by NBC Universal. Again, copyright. They hate me. So you want to leverage that, but again, it's going to be removed. So you have to be, have to find ways around it. But I can't repost that link, for instance. what's interesting, and I think what's the misconception about television, and again, it's not my first TV appearance, is that people think like, you're going to make a lot of money. Just get on TV, you're going to... It's actually an investment more in exposure rather than you making money. I make, probably 10 times more doing a corporate show, for instance. So that's the misconception of, TV is gonna make me. Not necessarily. It's more of an investment, and then afterwards it's what's gonna, how you use that. It's gonna help you either get brands to work with you or etc. For instance, Troy Magician, he's right now on every ad for French Connection, which is great. So this is an example of how, he's making money out of the popularity he gains.
Yes, no, it's. I suppose we all have to leverage what we can in whichever ways we can do so. But it's interesting, what you were saying about the fact that the fact that you're on Wizard Wars doesn't necessarily help you where you are locally as much as perhaps you're. I know that you've been on local TV appearances and talent shows and things like that, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, but even that, to be honest, unless you really take that and leverage it and actually make an ad with it or something, it's I think what happened that was funny after one of my TV appearances, it was on Your Bleeped Up Brain, it was on History Channel, and I had someone who somehow found my cell phone number and called me, and it was like a hate voicemail that was left on my phone. That was horrible. So
oh dear.
Because I didn't pick up, right? It was an unknown number. I don't pick up unknown numbers. And they left a message, and it's like, okay, I just watched you on television. Guess what card I'm thinking of? And it was like, no. And then like insults, and then boom. That was so horrible. So that's
probably just jealousy. I put it down to jealousy.
And it was a woman who left a voicemail. It wasn't even a guy. So interesting stuff from TV.
Well. Yes, unfortunately, there's 7 billion people in the world, and they're not all.
Yeah, you have to get used to the fact that the more you get exposure, the more you're gonna get those kind of hate messages. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it's sad, but I guess it comes with the territory to some extent. I've kind of asked Dave Cameron's message, which was about whether. You find coping with a magic career and how you find coping with a magic career and affair in your family. So I'm going to move on to Andy Hoffer's questions, which is what sort of venues do you perform in normally when you're out doing gigs? I know you're not out doing full-time gigs all the time right now because of your son, but when you were performing full-time, what sort of venues did you perform in?
So mainly corporate events. PR events, a lot of PR events. I worked with over 30 beauty brands. So this is something I love, and that's why kind of the makeup comes in. I know a lot about makeup because of that. Although I'm really bad at putting my own makeup. I prefer when a makeup artist does it. So that's kind of where my target market is, because I was in modeling for a few years, so that kind of brought back the whole fashion and beauty, so a lot of shows from there. I don't do as much private events just because I am a premium performer, and it's when they're looking for a magician, they're willing to pay a certain price, and so if I do a private event, it's going to be like a VP or a CEO who has an event. It's not going to be just like a kid's birthday party. However, on the rare occasion, some of my clients, they're VPs and their kid has their birthday, and although I don't specialize in those kind of birthdays, I will do it just because they're my best clients, and because I go the extra mile. And the reason why I'm also a premium performer, and my theory is less is more. So I actually prefer performing less and charging more than performing more and charging less. So that's my theory. It saves me not only energy, but it allows me to personalize everything. Almost everything I do is personalized. I have a show coming up in October for October 31st. It's at a wedding. So they have a theme of Halloween at their wedding. And it's crazy how much I'm personalizing things. So I'm actually ordering now online things that I think would fit. And I'm brainstorming with the couple, like, would you like this? Would you like to, when you cut the cake, use the knife that actually goes through your arm? So I'm actually going to allow them to do some of the magic. Wow. So that's the sort of thing that keeps my creative juices flowing. I love doing that. And if I was the kind of performer that took 3 shows during the day, I would not be able to do that. So
Yeah.
I've never performed more than one show a day. Yeah, there goes my English. But so premium performances and a lot of personalization, and that's why I perform my effect layers, because it's something personal, and that's what I like about it. It's so a lot of my tricks come from that.
That's really cool. Andy also asks what your plans are for the future. Obviously, you mentioned that you were a fashion model. Do you still do fashion modeling? Do you have any other jobs as well?
It's a very good question. So I'm no longer in modeling, but I perform because I'm still working with beauty brands. I do perform with models, and this is very interesting because I see it as a a singer and the backup. So that's what I did in one of the shows that I did for them, and that's what I loved more than just being the model that no one remembers at the end of the day, that just walked on stage. I actually created the magic, and then on the back there was models walking. So I loved that moment so much better than when I was actually going through the runway. And one thing that I'll never forget during runway shows is in the shortest period of time, they remove your clothes and put new clothes on. It's crazy. So it's like the quick change if you want. So that was interesting. It was hectic. It had its moments for me modeling. It gave me a self-confidence and kind of a marketing thing edge. So I like that. But I no longer take modeling gigs. So I now represent myself as a magician. If you want me to wear your clothing, I will. But I will do magic instead of just walking there. And also, I'm still working to getting my modeling body back after pregnancy. And it's very difficult. I've never thought it would be so difficult, but I have to work out every single day. And that's why I felt a little bit negative about Wizard Wars, is because I looked really chubby on those videos. So this is not how I look like now, and this is not how I looked like when I was modeling. So I have to get back to that. So I'm giving myself another 2 months to get back in top shape. And yeah, so no more modeling. However, have I done something besides that? I think I've touched on a little bit about business, like I'm managing my own company and everything. But I also consulted for a lot of brands as well. I have a degree in marketing, actually. So I studied commerce and marketing. Again, I mentioned I was a student, so that's what I did at the same time as I was taking shows. And what's interesting is that I would recommend someone to study something that will help your passion. So I did 2 years of science before that, and I hated it. So obviously I was not meant to be a doctor. But so then I went into marketing because what I wanted to do was this. And it helped me a lot. Okay, I did learn a lot, and it helped me also to consult for other firms and get that kind of experience. What's interesting is it allowed me to also plan actually to have my kid, because it's obvious that I wouldn't be able to perform at some points during pregnancy because it's just too much. And then there's also yeah. So what did I do during that 1 year where I was going through pregnancy? I actually, instead of just consulting, I took on a corporate position, and a pretty high one. I was the head of social media and digital for a very, very large firm. And I loved it. So I was managing a team, and it was most of it done also through Facebook, social media. I had a chance to play with budgets that are in thousands of dollars, and so it's insane. So I really love that. I love that part. So it really kind of sparked the businesswoman in me. Like, if I can do this with this almost unlimited budget for this client, then how much more can I do for my own company? So even when I released my video Try, now it has like 20,000 views, but I paid to get some of those views. I actually invested in advertising. So that's something some people don't know, but I did that. I did some advertising. It's very subtle advertising, so I wouldn't know those skills if I didn't have my degree and if I didn't have my kind of work experience. So what's interesting is that I always have a backup plan. If I want, I can just either start my own, again, expand my company, not only offering magic services, but also consulting services for digital communications. Or I could just continue to take on a client and actually go through the corporate ladder and everything. But the thing is, if I wasn't in magic, I wouldn't never had that possibility, because I tell people, like, my experience is magic, so they take that into account. If you're just a recent graduate from university, you're a recent graduate from university, you're going to get an entry-level position anywhere. So although I had pretty much recently graduated from university, I was in a manager position, for instance. And that's very, very rare. And that's only because I managed my own business and I was entrepreneurial. And I was different. And who else does magic tricks during meetings? So even if you're doing something else, magic is going to be a skill that's going to just help you everywhere, in my opinion, because it's going to boost your confidence. It's going to make you a better leader. So many things.
Well, as they say, differentiate or die, and obviously you did.
Exactly. And it's crazy how I got some of the best deals with, even for my client, by just impressing people in the meeting with magic. So it's just a winning situation.
Talking about impressing people with magic, Daniel wants to know, well, he has several questions, which we've covered, I think, some of the things already, but he said, what is your favorite deck and magic trick? And if you could only perform one magic trick, what would it be?
What's my favorite deck, or a trick deck, or just a deck in general?
No, you choose.
Okay. I have several decks of cards. I have some that are expensive, some that are $1. The thing is, I don't collect cards. I don't like attachment to objects so much. So I use them, and people look at me weird, especially card collectors, because they're like, this is like a $200 deck of cards, and you're just like handling it. And I'm like, I don't care. It's just pieces of cardboard. I don't have an emotional attachment to it. So even if you say this is like a limited edition or signed by someone super famous, I honestly don't care. So I will manipulate it, and when it's sold, I'll throw it away. So I go through a lot of cards, and I don't have a favorite deck. Sometimes I support some of the designs by using them in my videos, but it does not mean I have a special preference. There'll be a new design, and I'll buy that design, and I'll use that one. But I do believe in the quality of the cards. Obviously, I like to manipulate cards that have a good finish. So tally-hos are the cheapest and I think the most durable ones. So tally-ho playing cards would be my favorite in terms of they hold really well, so I can use them for like a couple of weeks, which is good. Regular bikes, wow, I use them a couple of days and that's it. So no preference for that trick. I would say my own trick layers, that's the one I would perform, because I just mentioned I am learning a lot of new magic, and a lot of the effects are about card magic. And I've been also pinned as a card magic magician, and among anyone, I'm the one that's more sick of cards than anybody on the planet. So I can't handle regular card tricks anymore. I have a hard time with pick a card and I'm going to find the card somewhere. I just can't stand that. So I obviously won't do that. So I like my effect because it's different, and I could see myself doing it. But in terms of just a magic trick, I don't know. Again, right now I'm in a phase where I'm tired of them, so it's not a good question. I'd probably do a ring trick. Yeah, probably do a trick with a ring. Okay. And then I'll use cards just to manipulate them. That's it.
Back on cards, of course, and talking about your cards. So you have a DVD called Pure, is that right?
Yeah.
Which you've put out with Theory 11?
Yes.
Yes. How's that working out for you?
That was in 2011, and I think it was released in end of 2011, so towards 2012. So it's been a couple of years. It's been, well, I don't know what the question is exactly. Is it how profitable it is to make a DVD, or?
Well, it seems very popular. You've got nearly a solid 5-star rating across the whole thing, which is very hard, to get.
What's interesting is that in the intro of that video, I'm saying this is my debut Cardistry DVD, meaning that I was planning to release another one sometime in the future, but I've been just doing so much more magic now, and I feel now it's so much more difficult for me to create new cardistry effects, because there is a lot of creativity out there, and it seems like any single little variation to a cut becomes a new move. So it seems now a lot harder than it was before to create really original things. So I think it's doing well in Uni because it's really 15 different and original card flourishes, and some that are good for stage. And that was a big problem I had with, for instance, just doing cuts, like Dan and Dave style cuts. They're awesome, and I would do them in any video, but I would never perform them on stage. First, no one will see what you're doing, and for layman, it all looks the same. So yes. I think it's just different for what it is, and it's, again, I mentioned, even I have a hard time now coming up with really original and different moves. So right now only variations are flowing, but or routines. So I think it was very ambitious of me to say there's going to be a second one, but who knows? Maybe.
Okay. And that was also a question from Andy. He also asked about Penn and Teller, and what was it like to mystify them, and are you a big fan of Penn and Teller as well?
I'm definitely a big fan of Penn and Teller because I just liked how they respect the audience, and again, sometimes they reveal a little bit of how the trick works, but then take you in a completely different direction. So I like that attitude. So it's a little bit of that mentality of you don't want to show too much skill because you don't want them to take away from the magic. Well, they're revealing a little bit of magic, and yet it doesn't take away from the magic. So I think that's very clever, and I did not expect to fool them. Honestly, maybe I should have been on the Foolish show instead. But I did not expect that, and not only them, but all the panel of judges. And so I received great comments on that trick. So again, I did not expect them not to know what I did or how I did it. That was a great moment for me, because I always knew I was an original performer and I had an interesting style, and they maybe they will like my style, and they did like the more kind of dominant leadership style. But I did not expect to fool them. So that was a good surprise. And also I didn't expect to fool so many magicians who watched that. That's why there was a conflict between releasing the effect for me.
Mm-hmm. And was that your effect, layers?
Yes.
Again, yes. Which you're not releasing, although lots of people are asking about it.
Yeah. So I have decided not to release it, and again, it's just, well, first of all, I had started planning to release it, so I had already started the production of gimmicks and everything. By the way, it uses a gimmick. I'm sorry, it's not, it's not non-gimmick. It does use a gimmick. I think you can't impress anyone with a regular deck of cards anymore.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, no. So basically, but you will never see the gimmick, even if you had Penn and Teller handled everything. Anyway, so I made a lot. Now I had 3 years worth of gimmicks that I can use. But then it aired, and I kept getting those messages from people I really respect, who were like, you should definitely keep it as your signature trick and not release it, because I'm sure you're going to perform it again, and perhaps on another TV interview, or how would you feel if someone else does it right now on television, and you really need to associate this effect with your name. So
yeah, I think that's really good advice, and I mean, far be it from me to say, but I have no idea how it works, but but I don't want to know either. It's beautiful. It was, I watched your video that you did with Spidey.
Yeah.
Doing it, and I could see just the look of shock on his face as well. That he was like completely fooled by that, but astonished as well in a good way. And I know that for you, magic. You say this, that magic is all about making others feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to you. And do you think that most magicians see things that way, or is there a conflict in some performers, maybe people with less experience, about they get into a situation where they have conflict with the audience, as in they're trying to fool them, and it's about being more clever. you know, which is not something you
Yeah.
do, even though you
No.
have a killer style.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting because maybe for some people my style may come off as arrogant because of the confidence that I display on stage, but I have no choice to be at that level because I'm in a male dominated field. And why magicians also have success, in my opinion, male magicians, is because they are seen as the authority figure, and you will kind of trust them and kind of listen to them when they give direction and everything. So if you're just like, if my character was this, you know, too girly and, you know, look at me, I look good, and here I am in a very, very, you know, short dress,
Mm-hmm.
it would take away from this the strength of that would take away from the magic. Yes. And yeah, so that would create a conflict for me, honestly. So people might see, you know, I'm selling more myself than the magic. So I think people who try to be more clever than other people, they're trying to compensate from something, but I think it's removing from the magic a little bit, because I know some people who, well, it annoys me when some people say, okay, I'm a spiritual guy. They don't even say magician. They're like, I'm a spiritual guy. So, and they want people to believe they have powers, and they want to create fear or instill fear in people after they've performed.
Yeah.
And I've actually been approached by a producer in the past who had a show idea with me being this dark character and, you know, being a little bit punk, so cut my hair and, you know, just being black, and then your nails would be black and everything, and you would have tattoos, and you would like instill fear in people. So you'd come up and people would really think you did, did some voodoo effect or stuff like that. So I definitely didn't like that, and it didn't suit me, and it wasn't what I was trying to create. Now, what's sometimes difficult with magic is that we are not sure of the reaction we're going to create. Natural reaction very often is laughter. But then again, I'm not a funny magician. I say funny lines. Sometimes I have funny lines, but I don't try. I don't have a scenario. It just happens, and it's good, and I take control of the moment when that happens. But so sometimes it's not laughter, sometimes it's amazement. So how does amazement come off? You don't want it to come off as for me, you should feel good. So whatever good feels for you, well, when I watch magic, it's very hard for me to just like explode in laughter. It's not I'm more of a reserved person emotionally. So so that's not the reaction I can give. So when a lot of people film street magic, they pick very emotional people because they want an explosive reaction. So.
Yes.
But for me, it's whatever makes people feel good, and it doesn't have to be an explosive reaction. They just have to, after I'm done performing, they just have to be happy and be in a good mood and be in a good state and forget about their problems in a way, because I was paid to entertain them. So that's the end goal. If they are scared, that's not good for me. If I don't know, if they're offended by what I said, or that's not good for me either. I'll definitely not get rebooked if I offend someone. So I've never not been actually rebooked, because if someone feels good, they want to feel good more. That's why we do things to entertain ourselves, because we constantly want to feel good, because there's a lot of also bad things in our life that makes us sad. So we either watch TV or, I don't know, play sports, whatever makes you feel good. That was a long answer, but
that was a great answer, definitely. I've got a question from Dan Edwards, and he wants to know, in relation to the card trick you came up with on Wizard Wars, what advice can you give guys and girls like us to get our creative juices flowing and come up with some equally amazing effects?
Okay, that's very interesting. I don't think I can tell you anything about the trick that will make you think more creative, but I did really like the concept of Wizard Wars, of looking at different objects and being forced to use them. Now, it doesn't have to be a crazy object like a water gun. I would never use a water gun other than or spam on the show. Spam, I couldn't even. That's why we didn't get messy with the spam, is because I didn't want to touch it. So definitely use objects that are kind of in your life. But so as an example, just an example. So I have a dove, right? So I do the dove production sometimes, and I've had my dove for 2 years now. And in the past few months, it started to lay eggs. And that was amazing for me because I've never I've never witnessed that. So I found out that she's a female, and I've been calling her Twitter. Anyway, so she laid eggs, and I've been collecting those eggs here. So these are real dove eggs, and I'm trying to think of a magic trick now with these. So it's going to be in my next video, or some next video, future video. So I'm just forced right now. So I have this object that I think is super cool, and I have my dove, and I know that instead of producing a fake, egg with the billiard ball, you could produce an actual real one. And to me now is how to do manipulation with real dove eggs. That's the challenge. So
very carefully, I would think.
Yeah. So my egg is still laying more eggs because the eggs may fall and break, so I have to have replacements. So I don't know yet what I'm going to do, but you're going to see in the video what I come up with. So that's my process. So I think it's going to be cool. I don't know yet the method, but I know it will look cool. So you have to just not think of the method. You just have to think, what would you like to see as an effect? So me, I really wanted him to sign any playing card, and I wanted that to cause the signature to do some magic instead of, I guess the card, or, he signed the card, now let me put the card in an impossible location. So think of a different method that's currently not popular in magic. Sometimes reading old books kind of helps you.
Tarbell. It's all in Tarbell.
Yeah. There was, I don't remember which magician's DVD I was watching, but it was a very old DVD, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but he was using to, I'm going to not reveal something, but to get the coins not to make sound, he put them in, I cannot remember the English word for it, but it's, there's the bottle, and it's the nipple. So the nipple of a bottle for babies. So he took the nipple, and the coins were there, so they don't make sound when he was lapping them. So I thought that was amazing because I have that at home. So I started to just think of tricks I could do with that, and things I can put in a bottle nipple. So I like that. So yeah, don't go with objects that are maybe too ridiculous, like spam, but definitely think of objects that you could actually use in your show, and just think of effects you can see, and then think of a method. We had a consultant on the show, actually, Dan White, so he was actually also helping brainstorm ideas. So it's also good to kind of talk to other people and run ideas through them and get kind of, oh yeah, that would be cool. Now let's talk about methods, and then you have several people kind of thinking about the method. In the case with the card trick, I already had the method. I just had to put it all together with pen, and well, not pen, but it ended up being pen, but with one of the judges. I really wanted to use one of the judges instead of someone from the audience, because it could have been someone from the audience, but then to me I would lose points because it wouldn't be in their hands, and they couldn't. So it really depends. So if I am to create a new trick, I would first think of what effect I would like, who I would like to show it to. Sometimes it's an effect that maybe works well for stage, it's not going to work for close-up, or works for close-up, or maybe sometimes it's an effect that works on TV, like getting a sword out of a table. It's not very practical in real life, for instance. Or a can of Spam disappearing. It's not very practical either. A water gun in full, that's not practical. So there are things that are not going to be practical, but just think of different things and force yourself. You have to force yourself. It doesn't come naturally. People sometimes think they're just going to sit there and it's going to come. You just have to force yourself. That's all.
Cool. Frank Tugas wants to know, it says, doing magic on television always leaves a false impression to many who watch. Something that takes an hour to watch may have taken all afternoon to shoot, sometimes longer. He is saying, is it possible for you to give some inside behind-scenes view of Wizard Wars, or what that was like for you?
Okay, so I guess these are folks that may be auditioning for season 2.
Maybe.
Maybe. I would say, why not? It's audition. Well, go for it if you have a chance. It's cool. So yes, it's not in a matter of hours. In fact, I was almost disappointed that so much of it was cut, because there was so much more. And just what we did in the workshop, there was a lot of different magic that we performed with different objects that we found in the pantry in the little magic shop. Also, in terms of time, I can break it down in three. I don't know how they're doing it for season 2. But first is, yeah, you're meeting your partner in LA, and you're there to be in the workshop and brainstorm ideas and come up with a trick. So that's a full day there of filming in the workshop, and you only see a few seconds of it. Mm-hmm. And then there's the second day, which there's no filming necessarily, but you get to block. You have at least, well, you actually have 5 minutes to block it on the stage. That was really short. I honestly just I had to memorize the stage in 5 minutes. That was not enough time. That was the only thing that was really, really short. I wish I had more time to just rehearse on that stage. So you have 5 minutes, but then you can still use that day to work on the tricks with your partner. And then there's the final day where you're going to film the whole thing to the judges. So and that actually, well, it takes a good evening to do that. So you have the morning kind of to practice. But they usually film 2 teams, so 2 episodes during the day. So you either have the morning or the evening. But I would say it's, whatever you see in an hour. It's kind of 3 days of work. And that's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You start at 7 in the morning and you may end at 8 at night. And depending on how crazy you're after in your hotel room and you want to rehearse, and I really wanted to go to the Magic Castle while I was in LA, but I couldn't do that because there was rehearsing, and my partner especially really wanted to rehearse and be ready. I maybe like to rehearse less because I'm less of a scripted person. But there was a lot of things that we had to memorize, like what we were going to say, because we were 2. If I was alone, I would completely go, and improvise. I would have an idea of what I wanted to say, but I would never kind of put it in the script. But because there's 2 people, you need to know when the person stops talking, and then you need to jump on right away. And if there's a dead time, it's really bad for television. So, well, for stage as well. So it was, okay, that person finishes talking, you have to, and that does take practice. And that's why a lot of teams got a lot of compliments of you managed to, seem like a group, although you haven't been working for that long. And it's true, you don't have that long to work with that person, and yet you have to present something cohesive and look like you're having fun.
Yeah. Thanks, that's a really fantastic insight, I think, and will help many that need to know more about that. There's a few questions left, if you're happy to continue.
Sure.
Andy, again, wants to know about whether you do any mentalism in your performances. I know you mentioned hypnosis, but are you going to be doing any mentalism, either mind reading effects or psychokinetic?
So going back to hypnosis is just something I'm curious about. It's not necessarily something I want to perform. I'm never gonna open a hypnosis show. I'm a magician.
Never say never.
I wanted to clarify that. Never say never. Maybe one thing. Hypnotist Ekaterina. Anyway, so for now it's not in my plans to do hypnosis professionally. I will just play around with some of the suggestions just for my own kind of curiosity. But mentalism, absolutely. There's a lot of prediction effects that I perform, and it's very easy to do it on stage. You pack really, really small. And there's some really I really like the trick of the prediction box coming down. It's very dramatic. I like that. So I do that very often. So yeah, you could definitely, if you ever see me perform, I will definitely have at least 1 or 2 mentalist effects. So I think it goes with magic. I don't understand actually how some people don't understand. I just find it boring for myself to just call myself a mentalist and just say, okay, I'm only going to do prediction-based kind of these, interesting experiments and trying to match thoughts or drawings. So if I would just do that, I would get a little bit bored from just performing that. So I'd perform a lot of different things, and that's interesting. Also, people don't know that I perform with so many different objects and so many different styles. Well, not styles, but mentalism and card manipulation and stage manipulation, because people only see what I do on YouTube, and it's unfortunate that I don't have a public shows that often, because I'm sure a lot of people would have liked to see what I do live. But yes, that's why I'm looking in the future. I have to do at some point a public show where anyone can buy a ticket and come see me.
That would be really cool. I'm sure you would have a sellout audience in no time at all.
Thank you.
Um, right, I'm just scanning down through the questions. As Rue Herring says that there are definitely more ladies needed in Magic, I believe. He says, so good, you guys, something onto something. Anyway, I can't quite decipher his last comment, but obviously a big supporter of ladies in Magic.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question. So
I don't think it was a question. I think it was more an affirmation of support.
Yeah. Thank you for the support. Hashtag girl power.
You mentioned about veteran magicians helping you in your early career, and can you say who were your inspirations? Who were those veterans that inspired you in the beginning?
Well, definitely. I've already mentioned Jeff McBride, but what's interesting, I didn't get so much FaceTime with him, but I just bought his work and I really liked his style, and it was very elegant, and it was different from just your comedy magician style. So I could relate to that, and he really liked manipulation, and skill was an important factor in his show. And I saw his show in Ottawa, and then I've been to Vegas and I performed at Wonderground with him. That was a lot of fun for me. So and it's just that at any time I felt like I could ask him a question and I would get an awesome answer. So a lot of support from him. Again, until now, he has a great reputation in magic world of being supportive of teaching magic the proper way as well with his school. So that's awesome. There's several local magicians that have helped me. People you don't know because they don't have that much of a digital presence. But there's Patrice Meunier here in Quebec. He was the one that kind of gave me shows like the festivals, like there was jazz festivals and stuff. He's like, you would be good in those festivals. Try it out. And for me, it was like, oh, I'm just doing street magic, but in a festival, and I'm getting paid for it. It's awesome. So he kind of helped me get my first shows locally, and then I went on my own and tackled a completely different market, which is the corporate world, where I could charge what I had in mind. So, but at least he was there to kind of introduce me to just doing public shows as well, and public work. So that's great. There is a lot of magicians whose style I like. There is also people who are not magicians who inspired me. There's Andre Gig from Theory 11, who is now the VP of production, right? He edits a lot, he films everything. And it inspired me how skillful he was at the time with the cardistry. And he is still one of the most skilled cardists out there, male cardists. So that inspired me just always to keep practicing, I guess, because every time he would come up with a video, I'd be like, wow, I'm so much behind. I need to practice. So that's a good feeling. When you see someone, you're like, wow, I need to practice. That's a good thing. Yeah, there's a lot of people also in different areas, not necessarily in magic, that have inspired me. The only thing I cannot say is I cannot say that a female magician has ever inspired me, which is interesting because I'm a big supporter of female magicians, but there was never a time where I got inspired from watching a female magician. Maybe the only time, and it's and again, I forgot her name as well, but it will be in one of my videos. I saw a female magician who did magic, and it was televised probably in the 1970s, and she was doing magic with a baby. I don't know if it was her son or not, but the baby was sitting there in his high chair, and she was doing some magic. And I love that concept, so I'm going to copy that concept in a video for the future. But that's the only thing that kind of inspired me, the concept. I didn't like what she was wearing. I didn't like, that she was just wearing basically a bra and a skirt. Completely different style for me, but I like the concept of doing magic to your kid. So I can do that now. But yes, but that's a good thing because you want your own style. So it's okay not to be inspired by someone's style, but like the things they do. So I really like what a lot of female magicians are doing. I just can't see myself doing that just because it doesn't fit the style or what I'm comfortable performing or how I'm comfortable performing it. That's all.
No, that's fair enough. I think, yes. I mean, we've mentioned it before, but definitely creating your own style for everyone out there is absolutely key to becoming, you know, a confident, comfortable performer. But it is great also to get inspiration from people. Obviously, just not to copy them, which is, you know, a different thing.
And if I can add on the style a little bit, it's for instance, the style I portray is more like it's you have to be a leader on stage, you have to lead the magic, and you have to be very confident, and you have to kind of show the image of authority. But it doesn't mean that I'm that person like 24/7. I'm more of an introvert when I'm by myself. That's why I was able to pick up cardistry in a way, because it takes a lot of time by yourself with a deck of cards, which is kind of sad. But sometimes I feel like I have a double personality, which is okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be what you are today. If you want to be something else, be someone else. Be who you want to be. But if you need some time to be an introvert, be an introvert. So it's okay to have, I guess, two different styles when you're at home and when you're performing. It's perfectly normal and maybe even healthy.
Yeah. So you're saying develop a performance persona, which is okay. I mean, some people say you should go out and be yourself, but others.
But if you are shy and reserved, you shouldn't be yourself.
No. Be someone else.
You should be someone else, and try it. If you're extremely shy, and I was like that. I couldn't ask a question in school because I was so shy to ask the teacher. So I would rather like suffer in class. For instance, even if I needed to go to the restroom, I couldn't raise my hand and ask permission. I would just wait. So that's how shy I was. It was so bad. And then it was an easy concept. It was just, you don't have to be. You can act and be someone else. And you can act and be a very good magician, a great magician who is always confident, and that will work. You can also, well, it's more difficult, but you can act and be funny, I guess. Like I was a little bit funny on Wizard Wars, but I'm not usually, so I was able to act the part. I guess, again, having a partner who does a lot of comedy helps.
Yeah. But sometimes a little bit of humor can sort of break the mood. It can break the flow of a performance and stuff, which it can be very useful if you need to do a move.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it can be good. You don't have to be a comedic performer to have some comedy or to have some light-hearted bits in your performance.
No, and I think naturally everyone has that. We all have like basic skills. We all sometimes say something funny. We have friends at home that laugh all the time when we tell stories. So capitalize on that. Think of moments where that happens, and
yes, I think it's an important thing. Right, I think we're coming to the end of our Q&A here. I have got a couple of other things I'd like to ask though, which is, what do you feel about online groups like this one, like Full Circle Magic, and obviously there's a lot of other Facebook magic groups. Do you feel that they benefit the magic community, and in what way, and what do you get out personally of belonging or taking part in any of those groups, if you do?
Right. I think it's very beneficial for your personal growth, because it takes time to build kind of your own community. So for instance, when I started my YouTube channel, and I just started to go on all the forums I could find, Theater 11 was not there at the time. There was Technique for cardistry folks. There was other forums. So I would visit like three different forums, and I would post my videos there. And be like, hey guys, what do you think? And I would get feedback, and I really grew from that feedback. And then I started to kind of develop my own community where people would comment right on that video. And then the more I progressed, of course, the less time I had. So when time became an issue, I of course had to kind of drop my online presence a little bit and focus on my own channels. But for someone who is either starting out or who needs feedback on something they're working on and don't necessarily have a big digital presence, this is great because you can connect with other magicians who will give you the feedback. Again, if you're trying to be creative and you need to run through a scenario for a method for an effect, you mentioned there's the holdout, like a group that's more for to discuss your own kind of methods, but not the method of other people. But there are groups that where you just want to show your work and get feedback, and if it's a constructive feedback, that just makes you grow as a performer. And you can't always ask your family and friends to comment because they don't know, right? Did I flash? So that's kind of weird question to ask. So, yeah, it's great. And I've just started, well, I joined your community not so long ago, and it's interesting. And I've actually had Skype sessions with some of your members already, just trying to, again, there was one gentleman about hypnosis. So I had a discussion. I had someone who tried to hypnotize me. So that was interesting.
Okay.
No, it's good. So things like that. And yeah, and you get to kind of share your experience. I don't do this usually because and this is so I want to share one of my life theories. Speaking about future plans, and I want to mention this because if I ever speak to someone again, my life will completely be different at that point. Because my life theory is that every year of your life, something major should change, and that way you will never have regrets, right? So you always have to find one goal for a year that you want as a change, and it has to be something big enough to make a difference. Okay, so I can think back through many years, but let's start let's say 2011. So 2011, not only I graduated university, but I released my DVD. Let's say, so that's like I managed to get two things, but even if it was only one, that was good enough. So let's say you graduated, you remember that. Actually, a third thing that happened, I got married in 2011, so that's the third one. So I actually did three things I remember. So 3 things in the year. Then the next year, okay, so I really went far into that business, and I filmed that TV show, let's say, for the History Channel. So that counted for 2012. So 2013, I got pregnant. That's pretty major life change right there. So I had to make some work adjustment. Then 2014, okay, I'm raising my kid. Okay, I did Wizard Wars. I counted as one of the good ones that could be a potential. That was it for this year, but I'm sure there's going to be something else. I have a few months left. So every year you have to have one thing that does create a change in your life, and that way you always remember your years, and you're not 70 and wondering, what did I do? So it doesn't have to be that major. Again, it could be something a little bit smaller. For me, it was big events till now. So at only 25, I feel like I'm over 30 at this point because of the things that I managed to fit in, which is what I love, because by 30, I have a lot of other crazy things I want to do, and I know I will do these things because I'm forcing myself to set a goal every year.
Wow. I think that's a really amazing and wonderful thing, and probably very good advice for everybody. So set a single goal for every year at least, and change one major thing.
And change is good. Some people are scared of change, but change is very healthy in your life. So if you're just in a routine and you hate it, change. That's all.
Well, as someone wise said to me once, all's well that ends.
Yeah.
But yes. I think that's really fun. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having this Q&A with you, and I really think that you've obviously provided a lot to the magic community, just with your performances, and the fact that you're out there elevating the art is fantastic. And it's been a real pleasure for me doing this interview, and I hope you've enjoyed it too, and got something out of it as well.
Nice.
I'm sure that our members will get a lot out of the inspirational things and that you have to say, and about your life and everything. And we look forward to seeing your videos coming up with the magic with Ivan, and And hopefully, we'll look forward to seeing you posting, commenting also in the group, which would be really great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely read it if there's more questions as well in the comments. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your time and for giving so much to everyone.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye. Thank you.